events going on. If you look in your bulletin announcements, you'll see many announcements which pertain to today and this coming week. Today the Bible study will not meet because after worship is the crop-off. We do that once a year. It's part of Church World Services, one of the oldest programs. It's also one of the most successful. It's the one that this church has participated in for many years, and I hope all of you, if not most of you, have taken the opportunity to participate in the walk. I'm not going to say much more about it because Sue's going to. But because of that, the Bible study won't be meeting after worship, so that the members of the study can go on the walk. Also, there's another opportunity to walk. This is beautiful walking weather. This week on Saturday, Janet Hahn is going to lead us in a walk. The information is in the bulletin. You'll be here on Saturday. It's coming Saturday at 1:30 for that one. And also, there's an opportunity this Tuesday to participate hands-on in a Habitat for Humanity house building taking place in East Quad. Information is also in your announcement sheet. I hope that several of you will take that opportunity to find out more about what it's like to be a part of the Habitat for Humanity experience. Also, I just want to mention that the thing that I said last week about the nominating committee. If they contacted you and requested that you say yes to being a nominee for one of the boards, I do hope you said no, that you'll reconsider and call that person back or talk to somebody on the nominating committee. Their names are in the announcement sheet, I believe, and let them know that you will serve. You're busy. We know everybody here is busy. I'm busy. You're busy. We're all busy. We do important things. But you know what? It's the busiest people in the world who always are those who have and find the time to do what's important. And this coming year, it's going to be extremely important to have our boards filled with good people. And if you've been asked, it's because the nominating committee feels you are the best person for that position. So I want you to say yes. And if you haven't been asked, please volunteer yourself. Speak to one of the members of the nominating committee and let them know where you feel you will be able to serve the coming term. Are there any other announcements that need to be made before we begin? Okay, if not, then let us continue to bring our hearts and minds together up. And I'm going to have two minutes and pop up. If you have forgotten the crop walk, it's not too late to sign up and walk. All you need is 2 feet. Doesn't matter what you wear, because it's such a nice day out. Just decide to come and walk with us. We have 3 options, the same that we've had for a number of years, and if we have enough people for each one or anyone, we'll be doing it. The first is just a little half-mile walk down to what I call the duck pond and back. That's like a half-mile total. The second walk, which was the big one last time, is from here to St. Mark's Church through the village of West Hampton Beach, and that's a mile each way, 2 miles. And if anybody is interested in a longer walk, it's to go across the first bridge to Dune Road and over to the next bridge and walk back by St. Mark's and then walk around. And I clocked that one at about 6 miles. Crosswalk doesn't care how far you walk. They want donations. So please come to coffee hour. I haven't been here for a couple of weeks to encourage you, but I hope that you'll find people like me after church and pledge money. If you don't have your checkbook today, that's quite all right. Just pledge money and bring it in next week. If you have it today, that's wonderful. This is a great opportunity to give. Truly, 90% of the money that comes in goes directly to help with food, hunger relief, and making people so that they can take care of food things for themselves. Do walk or participate pledge. Thank you. Let us see. Now let's stand again for the responses of the Oh, come, let us sing to the Lord. Let us come into God's presence with thanksgiving. please remain standing for our confession and pardon, and also the exchange of the peace. Let us pray. Merciful God, we confess that we have sinned against you in thought, word, or deed. We have not loved you with our whole heart, mind, and strength. We have not loved our neighbors as ourselves. In your mercy, forgive what we have been. Help us stand where we are, and direct where we shall be, so that we may delight in your will and walk in your ways, to the glory of your holy name. Amen. Now hear the words that we perhaps come to worship more than anything else to hear. And that is that your life is good. Your life, just as it is approved, fully and completely. Your past is over and done. It is forgiven. It is wiped clean. Your future is totally and absolutely open. All is possible. Praise be to God. In Christ, we are forgiven. Hallelujah. Praise God. They'll give Clockwalk money for you. You make money. And where does the money go? That's right. It's a walk for hunger. Did you know that there are kids your age who get up in the morning and their kitchens don't have food in it? They have breakfast. They don't go to school and get a breakfast at school. They don't get breakfast. And on weekends, if they don't go to school, because they don't, they might have to go a small meal a day if they're lucky. You're fortunate, aren't you? You have plenty of food in your house. But there are people everywhere, all over this world, who are not so fortunate. They're hungry. It's bad. It's no fun to be hungry. But the cross walk is an opportunity for all of us to help. And if you can't walk in the walk, does anybody remember what Stu told us you can do? You can get your parents to sponsor somebody who is walking. So everybody who's not walking, make sure your parents are sponsoring. Sponsoring is sponsoring. A big word. You give money. You give them money. You sponsor them. You give them money. And that way they're walking makes money for the hungry. And that makes it a record of our food for people all over the world who are hungry. That's the way that this church helps with hunger. When we stand up and have a prayer, we thank God for our ability to have 2 feet and to be able to use those feet to help others. Dear Lord, we thank you for these children, for their health and their strength, for their willingness to share and work for others. We know that they are already saving up and bringing in things to help Maureen's Haven, which is such an important part of this church and its ministry and mission. We pray for Maureen's Haven. We also pray for the crop walk, for it also helps those who are less fortunate and particularly need food. Help us all to grow in your love through your Son, Jesus Christ. He taught us to love and to share and to help others, and also taught us to pray together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. tell people often the truth, is that I always forget the most important thing. When I was doing the announcements, I forgot to thank those who helped organize and participate in, either as observers or models in the fashion show that our church we did yesterday as a fundraiser at the Manse. It was a great time. First, I didn't get there last year, but this year I was the only male. I'm used to that. I grew up with 3 sisters and I have 6 daughters, so I know what that's about. It was a great time. Thank you for that. Our scripture today is from Paul's letter to the church in Philippi, Philippians. I don't know how much you know about Paul and his letters. Paul, of course, is probably, well, not probably, is the most single significant writer in the New Testament. The gospel writers are certainly significant and important because through them we know of the life and ministry of Jesus. But Paul gives us our theological outlook that we have adopted in the Christian church. His letters constitute the longest, are longer than any one of the Gospels. And so we have a lot of what we get from the church. And he spread the gospel throughout the Gentile, non-Jewish community and was the main person who made it possible for us to be Christians today, for the growth of the church. Philippians is perhaps Paul's friendliest letter. They're not all friendly. He expresses sincere affection for the believers in Philippi. And totally absent from this letter are the stern warnings, the rebukes, and the sarcasm found, for example, in both of his letters, all 3 of his letters to the Corinthians and to the Galatians. Paul's in prison when he writes this letter to the church he established years ago in Philippi, and has every reason to be discouraged, not only about his personal situation, but about the work that he's devoted his life to. He received news about problems that the church in Philippi is having, including the health of one of his friends who had nearly died. Today's lesson begins with Paul's admonition to stand firm in the faith. Stand firm in the Lord. He then addresses a specific dispute in the church between 2 women. And then, as you will see, this is the little passage I'm going to read, he turns to the theme of joy. Despite everything that's happened, indeed, in the very midst of it, Paul's concern is that the believers remain joyful. I'm going to read Philippians 4, 1-9. Rejoice in the Lord always. I'll say it again. Rejoice. Let your gentleness be known to everyone. The Lord is near. Do not worry about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And finally, beloved, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, and if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Keep on doing the things that you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, and the God of peace will be with you. May the Lord bless to us the reading and the hearing of His holy word. Of all the passages in Scripture, and there are many, why is this perhaps the one that is the most dearest to my heart. It is. Although I haven't used it recently, I often use it as a charge to the congregation at the very end of a worship service. Paul says, think about these things. I prefer the King James, which says, think on these things. The Christian life is difficult enough at best. In our day and age, we don't have to have a prayer. We don't have a prayer, that is, we don't learn to do what Paul is suggesting. What, for example, we should think about this are those sights and sounds, smells, ideas, images, songs, slogans, and situations which constantly force themselves into your consciousness. Filling it up, filling your mind up to the brim on a daily basis. The messages from television, and I know you watch television, about which beer tastes best and is less filling, about which cell phone is the smartest, which automobile and sneaker and prescription drugs you really must have, to say nothing of the hate-filled diatribes from the whole political spectrum, the fears and worries that plague us, the pressures of job, school, family, health that drain our energy, the news of the economy, the shootings, the wars, the tragedies. Sometimes I wonder that anybody comes to church anymore. I mean, the pace of life is so hectic and frantic. The cost of living is high. The pressures are great. People are simply too exhausted to do anything but go home and collapse. What is the alternative? The mind and heart battered constantly by our society. Well, Paul's words in Philippians point to just such an alternative. But to be honest, our initial response may be skepticism. Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say again, rejoice. Why should? Why should? What if things haven't been going so well lately? Have no anxiety about anything. Now that's easier said than done. Paul obviously doesn't understand the complexity of my life. The peace of God which passes all understanding will keep your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Oh, sure. Just like that, I suppose. A bit later, in verse 11, Paul outdoes himself. He writes, I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. Good for you, Paul. Good for you. Unfortunately, I'm not yet arrived at that state of grace. What about us real people in the real world? As for Paul's instruction to think on these things like whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, well, it all sounds just a little bit too simplistic, does it not? Naive. Paul, as the purveyor of the power of positive thinking, walk on the sunny side of the street, put on a happy face, look at the silver lining. Is that what Paul is urging you? For us to pretend that the world is a wonderful place, that we ignore the cries of the hungry, the lonely, that we turn our backs on the sin, injustice, and that corrode the human spirit and threaten the very life of our planet. Fortunately, we know Paul far better than to think that about him. We know he is as realistic and as hard-nosed as they come. He knew, and we know, that even the most committed Christian can get beaten down by life. He knew, and we know, that without occasional refreshing, without reminders of goodness, of truth and beauty, without contemplation of God's power and love, he cannot survive. And so he recommended to his friends that they think on these things. Yet, things that are just as equally true as all the negative, and yet which uplift and inspire. Paul, of course, is right. Paul is right, as he so often is. As surely as I know anything about life, I know that people's spirits are starved for the knowledge and presence of God. As surely as I know anything about myself, I know that when I do not consistently seek God's presence, my life grows weak and broken, and I fall prey to society's priorities. Fortunately, you don't have to read Paul's letter to the Philippians to hear this very incredible yet true insight into the key to a joyful life. Recently, I've been surprised to find this message in secular literature, novels even. Just yesterday I finished reading The Kingdom of the Blind by Louise Penny. It actually doesn't come out in November, but I have one of those early copies of it. Chief Inspector Armand Gamache, the main character, whenever he is feeling down, which is often, fills his mind with all the things he loves. Holding his wife close, rocking and reading to his granddaughter, sitting before the fireplace drinking a fine wine, for example. He's even passed this insight into a joyful life onto his next in command, who is also his son-in-law and the father of his grandmother. And in her novel, Of Such Small Differences, Joanne Greenberg tells the story of John, a young man born blind, who was then deafened at the age of 9 by a blow from his intoxicated father. He can speak, but he's blind and deaf. He can speak, but is never sure when his voice is too loud or too soft. People communicate with him by spelling words on the palm of his hand. John supports himself with a manual labor job and supplements his income by writing religious poetry. At one point, John is conversing with his new friend Lita, a woman who can both see and hear. They're on a bus going to visit a good friend of John's who helped him with many of his problems, but who's now having his own problems. While they're on the bus, Lita expresses her dislike of God's grace, a poem he published in a religious magazine. Like most of his poems, it was one that made people feel good. Lita writes bitterly into his hand, God's Braille tells things you have never experienced, and it's too grateful. Shouldn't we be grateful? Yes. We should be, but you should be, she said. He was dumbfounded. She went on, you were beaten down. 3 weeks ago, you were abused. How can you smile and thank God for that? Why don't you write a poem about what your father did to you? No! He must have spoken too loudly because she quickly put her fingers to his lips. Too loud, she said. Too bad, he sounded in the air. And then said, he thought quietly, too bad! You object to loud words and want me to put worse ugliness into the world with poems about obedience. I want you to tell the truth. And God's Braille is the truth. I want your truth. My truth is that we are visiting my friend who helped me for 2 years, who made me laugh and taught me all kinds of things and gave me new mobility and confidence and confidence. 2 years. My father was drunk and sad on me and beat, but he never wanted to make me deaf. Hogwash, he said loudly, into his hand, and sat there sulking for the rest of the bus trip. They had to switch buses, and in the midst of their heated discussion, John had become disoriented and started asking Leah about sights and noises around him. Annoyed by his question, she said, "Why is that important?" He said, "Because 2 of my senses are involved. I have 7, just like you." 7, she said. "What are they?" "Location, direction, smell, touch, taste, duration, and rhythm." Instead of dwelling on the 2 senses that he was deprived of, John named and celebrated the 7 senses he did have. That book reminds me of people I know who simply refuse to allow themselves to become overwhelmed by the negative things that are in the world and even all around them, and instead are able to remain focused on what uplifts, energizes, and inspires. I think, for example, of Joan Marie Schimmel, a member of the Chautauqua Presbyterian Church, who had a series of unfortunate accidents that left her with a broken neck and 2 broken wrists. I have no doubt that at times she felt discouraged and downtrodden. Yet never once did I hear her talk about anything except how grateful she was for the good fortune she'd enjoyed all her life and how fortunate she was to have good friends to help her now. I think of David O'Shea, sitting right here in our worship, who suffered brain damage as a result of 2 violent beatings, muddy, yet who I've never once heard complain bitterly about his misfortune, even though he continues to have to undergo treatment for his brain injuries. I think of Priscilla Hopkins, not a young woman, who was in an automobile accident that broke many of her bones and left her badly incapacitated for months. At a time when it would have been easy to dwell on the negative and even give up hope, she remained positive and thankful and focused on God's grace and goodness. I'm sure she still has pain and discomfort, yet as cheerful as she does the things that she can. Remember Paul's situation? He was in prison, his future unknown. The churches he poured his life out for were all having problems, and some were in complete disarray. He had every reason to be depressed. But instead, he says, think on these things. Contemplate the good, the true, the honorable around you. Don't allow the things of this world to eat away at you until your inner being hardens, grows cynical and selfish. Drink from the fountains of living water. Only if we seek the presence of God, discover the goodness of God's grace, and pray to be filled with God's Spirit, can we ever hope to live our own lives with faith and hope and love, and to seriously address the problems and needs of the world, including those right around us. And therefore, think on these things. And yes, we are well off in God, the Almighty, and God's holiness always. Amen. a monk, a priest, and he wrote one of the most famous books called Do Not Look, it's about life, is the name of the book. This passage in it is called Do Not Look with Fear. He wrote this in 1609. Do not look with fear on the changes and chances of this life. Rather, look to them with full faith that as they arise, God, whose you are, will deliver you out of them. He has kept you hitherto. Do not but hold fast to His dear hand, and He will lead you safely through all things. And when you cannot stand, He will bear you in His arms. Do not anticipate what will happen tomorrow. The same everlasting Father who cares for you today will care for you tomorrow and every day. Either He will shield you from suffering, or He will give you unfailing strength to bear it. Be at peace then, and put aside all anxious thoughts and imaginations. Let us pray. Lord of life and love and life, hear us as we pray this morning, as we know You hear our prayers as they come to You all week long, even if we aren't aware that we are praying. But every feeling we feel, every thought we have, every desire we yearn for, every resentful remark we make, or even just think, as well as every word of encouragement to someone who is down, and every desire for health and well-being we have for those who have special needs, is a prayer lifted up, even if we're not aware of it as such to You. Yes, Lord, we thank You for hearing not just the words we address to You in church, but those we address to everyone around us, including those we think we're addressing only to ourselves. Hear our prayers for each person on this planet, even though we will ourselves get to meet only a tiny percentage of them and come to know even fewer. But Your love, which is infinite, is within us, and so our capacity to love is also infinite. Hear our prayers in strengthening and encouraging thoughts for those who have faced untold tragedy this past week alone. The families of those who died in the limousine crash, the plane crash, and all the many families whose lives have been turned upside down by Hurricane Michael. And all of those still suffering from other recent natural disasters on this side of the world and on the other side. Give us the strength and the decency to pray and to send financial support. But give us also the courage to do concrete things where we can, such as supporting and participating in Marian Table, the crop wash, and being willing to serve on the boards of our church, even when we think we're too busy. We pray for our church, Lord, for the new minister You're preparing for ministry here among us, and for our willingness to work with him or her as together we make the changes for the better here at Westhampton Presbyterian that we all know we need to make. Give us each the strength to do all we can to make the mission and ministry of this church what it needs to be to address the future of our congregation, this community, and the world. Hear our prayers for those on our prayer list, for those we've named aloud here this morning, for those in our hearts, and for ourselves at this time. All of this we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, we come now to the time of our offering, and we begin that with minute permission about morning table. I'm going to invite Maria Moore up to introduce and
morning, everyone. I'd like to introduce you to Dan O'Shea, the new executive director for Morning Haven, and he joined us earlier this year, and we were very fortunate because we were handed over the reins and his kids were home. I was just going to learn the information this morning.
Good morning. First, to say thank you for having me here. It certainly is a wonderful service today, and the thing that I find that as being relatively new to the positions, I spend a lot of time going to the various churches and houses of worship, and I meet a lot of the congregants and a lot of the volunteers, and the thing that I find continually is that more and more I'm inspired. I'm inspired, and at the end of the day, I'm very humble. I see a lot of people give so much of themselves, so much time, energy, effort, and compassion to what we do, that just being here today really speaks volumes to the folks that do support us. And I know that you have been supporting Morning Haven for, I think since the beginning of 2002. So I know how important it is to you. Really, at the end of the day, it really is important to my guests. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Morning Haven, as many of you know, we do work with the homeless population here on the east end of Long Island. As many of you know, we do the Winter Shelter Program, and I know many of you participate in that. This year, we're prepared for another successful season that's starting November 1st. We're actually extending our season through April this year because we do understand that there is a need. The thing that I really like to point out when I take the opportunity to speak with folks is that we do quite a bit more. We do a lot of case management. We do a lot of supportive services. We do a lot of stuff that tries to get our guests pointed in the right direction, connected to the services that they need. And really, ideally, at the end of the day, hopefully maybe in-house, maybe getting some sort of treatment, or maybe really being on the path that's really going to get them to where they need to be. As I mentioned, being fortunate enough to go to all this, many of the churches here on the East End, it really is important for me to say thank you again. Your support, your dedication is truly what makes Morning Haven a role model. As I not only meet with organizations here on the East End, I do quite a bit in Suffolk County as part of a homeless organization. And the one thing that I find quite often is that a lot of organizations look to Morning Haven as a model, as a very successful model. So I look at this and say, wow, what we're doing is good. What we're doing is working. It may not solve all the problems, but what we're doing is really making a difference. So again, I want to say thank you to you, my volunteers. I'd like to say thank you to Maria, my board of directors. Reverend John, thank you. And once again, thank you so much for your continued support. It truly means so much to me. And at the end of the day, I know it means so much to my guests. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. And, in addition to thanking the congregation as a whole for supporting the program and allowing it to happen in our church, I do want to give a shout-out to all the individual members who are giving up their time to set up cots and cook dinners and stay overnight. And there are